instead of what I eat in a day, I'm sharing this with you. And this video is brought to you by LifeSum. I thought this well and truly needed an update. Today I'm sharing with you guys what I guess I would call my grocery essentials. The last time I filmed something like this was when I was on a ketogenic diet, but that is not the case anymore. And now what I'm doing doesn't really have a name. So here I'm going to share with you like how I eat for weight training. If you're someone who feels tired a lot of the time, who wants to get more out of their training, or just wants their gut and their health to be better in general, check out some of these options and try implementing them into your food routine. This kind of stuff is something that I do pretty frequently, so I have to eat to be able to fuel myself properly. To track what I'm doing with my nutrition, I use LifeSum. So at the moment, my current goal is to gain a bit of muscle, so I'm slowly bringing my calories up. I was on a caloric deficit for about 15 weeks, and I'm slowly bringing them back up again to maintenance. The reason that I use LifeSum is because it is easy to change this, and what I find best is it's even easier to change your macros around as well to suit your goals. I do have a discount link in the description box if you want to try out a premium membership. Definitely recommend it because you can get so much more out of the app. You can also see that you can save your favorite recipes, so I have a bunch of mine stored in there, and that way you can just plug it in and it's really quick. I personally don't track energy output, but you do have the ability to do that in this app, and there is a food rating system which I think is brilliant as well. Okay, so we're making turkey burgers. That's what Mitch and I call them. It's pretty much just like turkey rissoles, I guess. So taking half an onion, 500 grams of turkey mince, 3 eggs, and I use some gluten-free breadcrumbs. You can use whatever ones you like. This is something that I would have maybe like later in the afternoon because I eat like 5 to 6 meals a day, small calorie meals, and I eat about 500 grams of broccoli a day. I didn't realize this until I started making this video, so I opt for frozen broccoli most of the time. It's just easier to have on hand, and I'll serve something like this up. In that first recipe, I did share with you that I have turkey mince. You do have to be careful which mince you choose. I know there's like 2 major supermarkets here. One of them has a really lean turkey mince, and then the other one has quite high fat turkey mince, so make sure you're reading the packaging. Some other animal proteins that I do include in my diet are salmon. It's a great source of omega-3 as well as being a good source of protein, so I love having that with something like asparagus. Another animal protein that regularly makes its way into my meals, probably 3 times a week, maybe sometimes 4, is extra lean beef mince. I would much rather get my fats from other sources rather than from the mince. An example of some of the fats that I do include in my diet are extra virgin olive oil, dark chocolate. I get the one that is 90%. If I have spare calories left over after dinner, especially if it's fats, I love to have like a piece or 2 of dark chocolate and like some cashews, some strawberries. I just find that that's really satisfying. I also frequently eat olives, cashews, and almonds. This is one of my favorite breakfasts, and it is my protein oats. So half a cup of oats, half a cup of almond milk, half a cup of water, a scoop of protein, some cacao nibs, half a mashed banana, and some cinnamon. You can find the recipe for this one on the Eat, Run, Lift blog. I like to think of food from the standpoint, what will this do for me? Like, what are the benefits of eating this? So for example, am I eating this because it's a good source of fat? Am I eating this because it will help me hit my magnesium for the day? Or even, for example, like a treat or cheat meal, whatever you want to call it, am I eating this because it's just going to allow me to relax about my diet for a while? You don't want to get too caught up in it, you know? And I track calories and macros just because I find that's the easiest way. For me, intuitive eating doesn't work. When I'm occupied, I'm not hungry. Some of the other carb sources include quinoa pasta. This is actually a new one, but I love it. It's like, oh, it's so good. I also just like regular old quinoa. It's got a great amino acid profile, so you are getting a little bit of protein from it as well. And I do like to have a little bit of honey. Not every day, but sometimes it is nice to put a little bit of honey on some oats or something like that. I also, of course, have, you know, basic spices. There's like a whole rack of them in the top cupboard. And something that I find myself using in quite a lot of meals is garlic. Okay, I would consider this one of my more boring meals, but not everything is super fun all the time. So it would be chicken breast with a little bit of flaxseed oil in the pan there, and then I just have some frozen greens that I heat up. This kind of stuff is really easy to meal prep too. And if you make big meal preps frequently, you can actually save them as a recipe into Lifesum and split it into serving numbers. So again, you can go back to that recipe tab and it's really easy to plug in and save yourself a lot of time when you are tracking. I feel like tracking calories and macros isn't a super tedious job. It's something just to remind me where I'm at for the day, because I do have a tendency to either really undereat or then overeat at a meal because I haven't eaten for like 6 hours. So it's just to keep me on track, and I find that that works really well. So give it a go if you're someone that happens to. Now, obviously this isn't absolutely everything that I eat. This is just a selection of the foods which I probably eat the most frequently at the moment. And now we have some of the other standard produce in my diet. So we've got asparagus, baby spinach. I also really love to use sweet potato, mushrooms, blueberries, and strawberries. This is just a basic little snack that I would go for, particularly when I need to hit my extra protein and fats. So it's just a corn thin, which isn't that nutritious, but then I've got some avocado and some tinned tuna on top. Now, I train with a split of 3 days on, 1 day off. I recently changed it to 4 on, 1 off, and it was too much for me. It put my body under too much stress. So back to 3 days on, 1 day off, and that allows me enough rest and recovery time. Prior to training, I'll either have 2 really small meals or 1 like decently sized meal, and that mostly focuses around having high carbohydrates, moderate protein, and a low-ish amount of fat. When I have finished my training and I come back home, I have a meal that is sky high in carbs, like, you know, a fair chunk of my carbs for the day, and a decent amount of protein and almost no fat at all in that meal, because your body isn't going to use it as well as it will be using the carbohydrates and the proteins. And this is just to replenish the glycogen stores in my muscles. So I just want to make sure that a bulk of the carbohydrates for the day are put in a place where my body can use them a little bit more easily. And yes, your body doesn't know what time of the day it is, but I notice a difference when I do this. So you have to experiment and find what works for you. So I try to focus them pre and post training. And I usually, not always, but usually taper my carbs off as the day goes on. So my dinner might be something like salmon and asparagus. So these are a lot of the foods that I find work for me and that regularly are a part of my diet. With the combination of having PCOS, thankfully not showing any symptoms anymore, but I mean, I still treat it as though I have it because I do, and I don't want all the symptoms to come back. You just kind of have to be in like a management state, I find. Plus doing all the resistance training, and occasionally I do some HIIT as well. So you do need to have those healthy fats in your diet, particularly when it does come to hormone management. For me, non-refined carbohydrates are the priority, and foods that are high in fiber. Now, because I do a lot of the weight training, because I am actively trying to build muscle as well. Now, if you're not training, if you're not trying to put on muscle, like if you're just exercising, you need a little increase, but if you're actually trying to put on some mass, you do need a bit more. So I'll eat about 2 grams per kilogram of body weight of protein. I believe that's about 1 gram per pound of body weight. I hope that gives you a little bit of inspo and some insight into what I'm doing. If you do want to see more of my meals, make sure you jump over to Instagram and follow me on there, because I do post them quite regularly in my Insta stories. Oh, P.S. I'm having the worst hair day in the world. So do we rate or hate the ponytail? I don't think I filmed a video with a ponytail before. Anyway, I hope you guys are doing really, really well, and I will catch you in my next upload. Bye!